All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, my favorite day of the week, November the 2nd. Yes, there's only a few months left in this year. It's stunning and hard to believe. But I'm always excited to do the sales training call, and it's been a big week of coaching. So anytime there's a lot of coaching calls, I really think a lot about the details and get tactical. So yesterday when we were doing the campfire for all of the agent training at a very basic level, I went over something with regards to making an offer, and that made me think I really should be bringing that up here today. Really, you have to, when you're in the sales context part of this business, that can be in a lot of different places per se, because it's really a process. It's not an event selling in this business. And it's really more so, it's not even a sale, it's about articulating value. But you really do have to learn how to make an offer, because somebody really needs to know why they should take action with you. It's not, I could go into the big unique selling proposition discussion about why should somebody do business with you above and beyond all other options, including doing nothing at all. That's the unique selling proposition definition, but it gets a little bit too grandiose when the truth is, from a very practical and pragmatic standpoint, you, the agents on your team, and whomever that's involved in selling, telemarketers, etc., you really need to be comfortable with making an offer of service. See, what I find is that there are a lot of people, and especially all the mastermind members who are hiring at this moment now, they're coming to me and saying, well, look, I'm getting people from such and such a brokerage to come to me who haven't done anything over at those other places. And, what do you think we should really be training them? And I'll tell you, it's very basic from the standpoint of you could get into all lead generation and giving people appointments and whatnot, but really, truthfully, it's about conversations. And that's why we do a sales training call separate from the rest of the training, is that it is about the number of conversations that you have each week about real estate. And so if you're looking to hold yourself accountable, let alone one of your teams and your team meetings being a discussion of accountability, you really want to pay attention to the fact that conversations are what matters. And a lot of the mastermind members will tell you that, that's something that's near and dear to our heart, because it's come up for a long time. A lot of people would get an enormous amount of leads, and it would be all about the leads, the leads, the leads. Well, that's not accurate, because you can get as many leads as you want. They can be coming out your ears, but truth be told, if you're not having conversations with those leads, you don't know whether those people are going to become prospects of yours or not. And that's a very important thing to understand. Very important thing to understand, right? So I want you to understand that as we go forward here, this is about conversations. But how do you start a conversation? Because there were two beats yesterday that came up. One of those is that you could be with somebody that is having a conversation just generically. Let's start with that one, okay? And I think what that means is, when you hear people talking about subjects in general in the public, real estate's not a hard conversation to find. When you really think about it, we have to have food, air, water, and shelter. So real estate becomes, from a very practical standpoint, meaning a place to live, not always just some sexy thing that I'm interested in, but really pragmatically a place to live. So it's very easy to get into a conversation about real estate, and I think you have to keep that in mind, okay? So as we go forward, I want you to understand that your radar has to be up. You need to be intentional about paying attention to these conversations that are happening. And you have to not be afraid to initiate them. So before I get into this conversation about offer today, and I help and guide you, I want to give this a little bit of a structure today here to say, look, what is the offer? And I can deal with it on the phone. I could deal with face-to-face, because there might be a variation in that offer as you go along, and that's very, very important to understand, okay? So I'm going to open up the microphone today, and Tony, I think I saw you come in here, and we did want to go because, I always love when I have a live call. So Tony was kind enough to send me a live call recording of circle prospecting, meaning that Tony is calling probably around a just listed or just sold, but we're going to find out. All right, I'm going to open up the microphones here. *6, mute your mic. *7, unmute it. Please be respectful that we have a lot of people here, and it's just easy to go on silence while we break this down, okay? So let me just check the mics first. We good? Everybody hearing me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. All right, Tony, is that you there in Albuquerque? I see the number. I'm just hoping it's you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right, so Tone, let's go after this right now.
Yeah, is this Mr. Gallagher? No, this is Mr. Sequoia. maybe I got the wrong address.
Are you looking for somebody in Vegas?
Yeah.
She's calling Tafoya, but you reached her home.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I just have the name on the property, but I'll change it, because that's obviously wrong. Tafoya. Tafoya. Okay, got that done. Mr. Tafoya, my name is Will Withers. I'm a real estate professional in Rio Rancho, not selling anything, at least not today. What I'm doing is networking. I was networking in the Western Hills because I've got some out-of-state buyers that want to live there, and I'm trying to help. And I was wondering if you knew of anybody in your neck of the woods that might be thinking about selling their home.
Actually, I do. I know one of my neighbors was trying to sell it on his own, and I know he still has the house. But it's a great neighborhood off of Deer Trail Loop.
Okay, do you know his name?
His name is Cipriano. What's his last name? Cip. I'm not sure of his last name, but his first name is Cip. They call him Cip. Cipriano.
Okay.
And
What's the address?
let me see. I have his number. Okay, his cell phone number is 610-2169. Yes, 610-2169.
Well, I'll give him a holler, and you don't happen to know his address, do you?
I don't. I sure don't.
No worries. So listen, I appreciate the lead.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll give him a call. Have you thought about maybe selling your own place?
You know, we thought about it. My wife, wants to get another house, so we're still kind of up and down still.
Well, if you decided to do it, when do you think you would do it?
Good.
Probably maybe at the beginning of next year, maybe.
Okay. So maybe in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you lived in the area that you're in right now?
I would say about close to 5 years, I guess.
Okay. And would you stay in the area, or would you move across town or out of state, or what were you thinking?
Well, probably across town. My wife wants a little bit more property.
Okay, so you're thinking you'd like to get something with a little bit of acreage on it?
Yeah, that's what she's thinking.
All right, and if you, what are you thinking, the east side, or are you thinking maybe further north, or?
She wants to go a little bit north of Northern.
Okay. So up towards the 550?
Yeah, that's not too far that way, but somewhere in the middle.
There's some nice houses up there.
Oh, yeah.
How did you happen? Yeah. How did you happen to pick the area?
She's always like that.
All right, let's stop it there for Tony, for a second, only because it's a little bit longer, and I wanna grab it, not lose the momentum here from the beginning of the call. Let's go back to it and tell me what you think about it when you heard this call. Let's break it down from the beginning. What did you think in the very beginning?
I think he did okay. I think he got to the goal. That would be one of our true prospects that meets the 12 months definition. I think, and I can't remember this call, if he gets deeper into timing there and setting up a follow-up call, and then and grabbing his email for kind of the market update reports that we send out. Mm-hmm. But he got to the goal for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a technical question. And again, it might be because it's a recording, but is the line really that bad when he calls?
I'm not sure because all I get is the recording.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, have
I'm
him
not
call.
real sure.
Well, here's how to find that out. Have him call you exactly as he calls somebody, that's on the list that you're calling, because that's really
Yeah.
horrendously bad technology, and it just doesn't seem to me like it has to be like that, because I was really excited to hear what he was saying there in the beginning, and it was a yard sale. It was really, really difficult to understand what he was saying. And I've seen this in the past in sales training, that oftentimes, because you have a virtual, he's not near you, and we cheat towards a lot of these technologies like voice. I'm using Skype right now, right? And sometimes Skype is good. Other times it fades on you guys. I've got a Yeti microphone. I mean, I really try to obsess over trying to get to the best quality, and even then it's not great. And I think that makes the job much more challenging when the technology is not in the best place it can be. And so I would say obsess over that, because to me, that would be the first beat that was unacceptable if it was my standard. If I was listening to it, not him, but the technology, I would have pulled my hair out and said, oh my gosh, please do not tell me we're calling somebody. And again, Albuquerque's a little bit different from the Northeast, where we already have determined they're so unforgiving that if they heard like the squelching sound and all that, there's a high probability they would just hang up. Okay? Okay. Next thing, beyond that, what'd you see? So you're cutting to the chase. That there's no doubt about it. He does a great job with the offer, or really just asking. Right? I think he does a really good job. Hang on, I got a couple hot mics here. Hey, Dino, your mic was a little hot, or whoever's there in New York. But the point was, I think he does a great job of asking right away. Like, do you know any of your neighbors that are selling? But that's why I was so interested, because it's a circle prospect call. I was so interested to hear his opening line. How does he introduce it? So maybe you can fill in the blanks there for us and tell us what you heard.
Yeah, well, and I can share the script that he's using, that we've worked on the Facebook group, but it's pretty much like Mike Ferry, but then softened a little bit and changed.
Well, just tell me what it is.
But it
just
seemed,
just tell me what it says. What would you hope he says at the opening line on a circle prospect? And is this circle prospecting around just listed, just solds, or just a market update?
No. So it's essentially, the reason for the call is we've got some home buyers looking in your area, and then the softer approach is asking them if they know anybody first, so it's not so personable. It seems like people open up a little bit, and then getting into, how about you? Have you made any plans on making a move in the next 12 months? And then it softens back up into just asking about how long you've lived in the neighborhood and all that, and then goes back into timing and motivation.
Yeah, and I thought it was great because I liked the softer, whatever the opening is. Hey, we just sold something down the street. Inventory's limited. Was wondering if you knew any of the neighbors that were thinking about selling. We just listed one. Do you know any of the neighbors that are thinking about moving in, or whatever the case is? I think it's all fair game, and I think it's good, real good. And that's why I was excited. And I love the fact that you finally have an example for me where he hits a double. Right? Home run. He hits 2 home runs back to back. One, he asks and he gets a real referral of a guy the neighbor is thinking about selling, and this guy becomes a prospect. And I think that's great. I mean, I would like to, if everybody's patient here today, I would like to listen to a little bit more of the call and see where he goes, because that will help me segue into what I wanted to talk about today is what's his offer here. I want everybody, I know it's a little bit tough when the calls are recorded and they're squelchy a little bit. It's hard to hear them, but this is a real moment, right? This is a real moment where somebody is doing something pragmatic. They're picking up the phone. They're calling around, in other words, circle prospecting. If you're not familiar with it, they're basically just calling a radius. In this case, I'm going to guess Tony's pulled the list from Mojo Dialer or something like that. Not relevant for what I want to say right here, but just calling into an area and saying, look, we're working with buyers in your area. Do you know if any of your neighbors are going to sell? Hey, by the way, are you selling? So we got that far. And Tony, he has a willing participant, so it makes it easier. I think what you and I talked about his creative side, meaning He's got that funny side to him. This is, every time we listen to a call by him, he's got a funny thing. Hey, I'm not selling anything today, or at least today, I mean, I think that's a very important part to him. And as long as he gets away with it without being too gratuitously silly, I think you're not going to unravel that. That's just who it is. That makes sense also? Because you and I talked about that before.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where he was wanting to just be him. So I just wanted to give you a hardcore example of what I think is him. He's a high I, and he likes to be funny. And so you let it be, because this call is far improved from the last one, where he does not get carried away with that stuff and then goes off into a rabbit hole. He actually goes straight to the question, and he should be aware of that. He should know this critique from me is that it's a compliment. He infuses some of that to lighten the mode, and he goes straight to whatever, and it was tough to hear, but exactly what he said, he gets right to it. Do you know anybody? And the guy's like, yeah. And I think that's awesome, right? So that was good. So the next thing I want to hear is, where does he go from here? So let's listen in a little bit more, okay? Because everybody lean in. I'm looking for his offer of continued follow-up. Now, he's got this guy leaning because he's determined timing that this guy is thinking about doing something, and even better, it's the guy's wife who's the primary mover. Ladies, when the queen is happy, the castle's quiet, so she's definitely a motivated seller. That's good. And he also hears in there that she wants more land or whatever it was. Let's listen to the rest, because I want to see this critical moment where he has now potential for relationship with this guy, let alone a referral from him. We've got two good things going on in this call. Let's listen in for an offer. Here we go.
I like where we're at now, but she's always like that other area. So.
Well, it's got some nice views out there, of the San Diego. If what might help, and I don't know if it will, but I can offer it to you. We have something we call an update, and the update basically goes out every couple of months, and what it does is it gives you a snapshot of where the market is and where the prices are, and then depending on who's getting it, we give them some comps to look at. I can see that you get the same thing if you have a good email address for me.
Yeah, definitely. It will be initials LAT229 at AOL.com.
LAT229 at AOL.com.
Yes, sir.
LAT229AOL.com. You got it. I'll see that you get it. Won't be salesy. You won't have to. You won't have to wade through a bunch of salesy stuff. It's pretty.
Okay, let's grab that chunk because there's a lot of meat in that one. So he does an excellent job of beginning the offer. There's no doubt about it. So where we were before to where we are now, he talks about the market update. He senses, okay, this guy's 12 months out. I'm going to give you a market update. Here's my first critique, and it's not a criticism. It's what's the next level beyond that to build upon. I would teach him to be more specific about why that matters to this guy and his wife. Right, Tony? So, in other words, it's like, I'm going to send you a market update that will include this. It will come at this frequency, and that's important to you because it impacts your value, right? He could learn to be more, because he's a very good conversationalist, but he should be learning to be more conversationalist in and around the value of what he's setting this guy up on as it relates to that guy, his wife, and what's important to them. That make sense, Tone?
It does. Hey, Danny, just so I can save progress, I've got the script up.
Okay.
This is what we've got written, and then maybe you can help me.
All right, well, hold on. I don't want to go
ahead.
backwards into a script. This guy's doing a really good job, and we're past the script, okay? It's become real and conversational, okay? He's already there. So unless you're going to read to me the offer part of the benefit of what he's doing, then hold off, okay? So I'll say, are you trying to read me a beneficial offer? Yes or no?
Pretty much.
Okay,
Yep.
go.
Yep.
Hit me with it. Tell me what it says.
A market update offer for 3+ months out is, thanks for your time today, Danny. Hey, a lot of your neighbors have asked me to keep them up to date on the real estate market in your neighborhood. What's your best email? I'll make sure you get the same information.
Okay, I got that from him close enough. So what I'm saying is to build upon that. Why is that beneficial to them? Because remember, think about this. Think about the end goal here. We are trying to create a prospect by offering them something. This is a perfect call, by the way. You would have think you and I set this up. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. How to make this offer. And you're giving me a real chunk here. So he says, and again, I like what you did. A lot of your neighbors have asked me to do this. That's that kind of inclusive, they did it, I better do it thing. I like that. It makes it more interesting to somebody. Nobody wants to be the only one. Everybody wants to be part of the in crowd. Good. There's a lot of psychology in that line you just dropped there. But he does it in his own way, and he's also equally effective. And the guy's a willing participant, right? He's like, sure. This guy's a real easy one, which is good because it's nice to build some confidence around this. But if the guy weren't so easy, I think the next beat is, here are the features of what's happening. In other words, I'm going to set you up. You're going to get a market update, and it's a portal. That sound good? Great. But it's a little bit too generic for somebody who pushes back. And if you want to condition this guy while you have him start, say, look, at what's included is it's going to be updates of properties that sell the minute the minute they do around you. Because why? That stuff impacts your value. So you can watch the trend of what's happening. So by the fall, you're well versed in the trend of similar properties that are actually selling around you. Okay? And that benefits you because you are going to be on top of the game by then. And when I come out to interpret it for you, or Tony does, it's going to be much easier because you'll be well educated. Okay, you see what I'm saying? I'm making it conversational, Tony, but I'm talking about, here's what I'm giving you. Here are the features of it. It's a market update. It comes to you automatically. But here's the benefit. It will continue to educate you between now and then on the trends in the market, the details of the houses that you're competing against or are in your category, and what you might have to do to be prepared. You see, there's that whole other level. You have to keep stacking benefits. And what we're infusing in that moment, too, is insight. We're demonstrating to him, we know how this benefits you. Here it is. Are you tracking where I'm going with this?
Yeah, and I'm just kind of typing while you're talking.
Okay, cool. And I'll work with you on it, more specifically. But it's more so the beats. One is, hey, looks like you are going to sell in the next 12 months. A lot of you neighbors have asked me to keep them updated. A lot of the neighbors that aren't selling tomorrow but down the line have asked me to keep them updated on the marketplace. So what I could do is give you a direct portal into MLS so that you actually are receiving properties that sell around you because they're going to impact your value and they're also going to show you the trend. Something like that, Tony. Just smooth, conversational, as if we are just talking, because that's exactly what we're giving them. Remember, we talked in the mastermind the other day about, we were saying, look, what's very, very important, and it's very difficult with sellers. Sellers are wildly emotional. I've had about 3 or 4 wildly emotional conversations this week about price and comps and what they mean and how the process, and nobody wants to listen in the beginning because everybody gets locked into their perception of how things work, and they're wrong. So if we're going to start to condition somebody early in the relationship before the emotions are at a high peak, we have to say, look, here's how the process works. We always start by giving our clients information of what's selling around them. And we supplement that with our 7-step course so that they're beginning to prepare themselves for success. So those are the 2 beats that we give you. Think about how that relates to what we talked about all week about expired packages, FSBOs, home evaluations. We're sending the same thing in a physical manifestation. You follow? This is all simply pre-listing information. That's what it is. So the fact that he's making an offer of a portal to get solds is pre-listing information. Now, there's no analysis or interpretation like we did yesterday in the mastermind where we really went into how I analyze price myself and I shared it with all the mastermind members. This is more so about, here are going to be the pictures, and the trends, that you can see them in their lightest, easiest form. And it's interesting. You get to see all the pretty pics. But, by the way, because you have me, I'm going to give you also my 7-step plan, because I know 12 months is a long way in some people's minds, not mine. I believe that you should start to consider a strategic approach now, not the least of which is paying attention to what sells and what kind of condition it's in. Do some drive-bys, take a look at their lawn, take a look at their pictures, and start to educate yourself on reconditioning your property. So what I'm doing, Tony, is I'm expressing that I think your guy has the opportunity, if he understands that he's essentially starting a pre-listing process, okay? And he's doing it by saying, here's what your neighbors asked for. Here are the features of that thing I'll give you. Here's a supplement to that too to get you prepared. And what this will do is keep you up to date, and I'll be following up to weigh in on that. So it's an elongated pre-listing process. Does that make sense, Tony?
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Because it's relationship that he said, yes, I'm going to let you start a relationship with me. So now, a lot of people are mystified. Well, what do I say in 3 months? Because he's 12 months out. Well, see, if you set it up correctly by giving him this access to this information, now when you're following up, you're following up on what's specific to him and his wife and his outcome. You're saying, hey, we talked 3 months ago. I don't know if you noticed, one of your neighbors actually did come on, right? And they were really buff. Do you know this guy too? Yep, that's Kevin. He's a fanatic. That's right. So you want to pay attention to Kevin's house, because see what I'm doing, Tony? I'm now being very, very, very specific with this guy only 3 months later. But I'm coaching him. I know he's still from that 3-month first call or whatever it is, 2 months, 1 month. I know he still has 9 months to go, but I'm not calling up going, hey, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Is there anything I can do to speed it up? Because I need a check, buddy, right? And that's the mentality in this industry that just has to stop. We just have to say, hey, it's me again, and I want to talk about this specific thing now that I know a little bit more about you. Or did you see that one? Or were you aware of this? Hey, by the way, we sent you out a bouquet of flowers because we actually followed up on that lead you gave us, and it turns out he's a good guy, and we're following up with him too. So we sent you a pack of brownies. Did you get it? Yep, that was awesome. So there's so much to unpack here. There's so much of an opportunity here that he has just rooted out that I'm going to tell you this is a wildly successful call. But what not missing, that's not the right thing to say, but what's available next, and what I really, really am weighing in on this week, and I'm going to do the podcast on it tomorrow morning, is to be cognizant of the offer. And in this case with the seller, it's really the information that's pre-listing. This is pre-listing. Everybody needs to hear me say that. What's happening on this phone is pre-listing. All right, let's listen to a little bit more.
Nuts and bolts, but I think it'll help you in the planning anyway. It'll have our contact information on it, so you can reach out to us when you're ready. And then, do you think it would be okay if I followed up for you? When you're talking about, in the fall, you might be better off, maybe starting at the beginning of the summer, only because you're going to have more people that are looking at houses at that point. It's not bad to sell in the winter. It's not bad to sell in the fall because the inventory isn't so great, so the competition isn't so great. But there's a 2 or 3% difference between that.
All right. I think he's now way too much. This is just too much, right? This is not the. See, here's where his desire to get this guy sooner overtakes his logical process that he's setting up, right? And I think the trainable moment here is this is good. I like it if it was appropriate, right? But you don't even know us yet. We haven't even sent you stuff yet. We haven't even warmed this up yet. And you're not that close to making that decision. That's way down the line. So why are we going there? It's just not necessary. And here's what's weird about let me tell you about something about the underlying psychology here that's starting to get a little bit weird. He has said twice that I'm not here to sell anything. There's nothing salesy. And then the irony is Now he's sounding like he's trying to sell the guy on doing something sooner than the guy had said. So there's kind of a weird underlying vibe here that's like, I'm not salesy, but let me sell you. It's subtle. I'm really looking and nitpicking because I can break it down in slow-mo. But he would, like, get out of Dodge here at this moment in time. And see, he doesn't need to ask for permission at this point because he set it up so well. I'm going to give you the portal. Here's the benefits of it. And what I'll be doing is I'll be stepping up to, to coach you on some of these properties. And then I'll keep you up to date in the market because maybe the fall's better or worse. I don't know yet. But I'll watch the trends with you so we can decide on the exact timing if it's something you decide to do. That would be fine. I think it's just how you're saying all this matters. Tony, you want to weigh in on this?
No, I agree.
But it's a very, very good call. It's an improvement. Now it's just, and again, I love that he's high I to the extent that he has conversation and he got an outcome. Good for him. That's a learnable moment. He curbed his high I and he got to the point, right? And it's good. But this is where it drifts. And I'm not going to go further with the call. You and I could talk about it, but because I want to open up the rest of the call. That's a good breakdown. But I want everybody here to understand that what's most important in the teachable moment here is what is the offer? Now that we have a conversation going on here, and I want people to weigh in. I had to mute a couple of mics. I think Dean and Gail, I had you muted. I unmuted you now. Let me just ask this question to the whole group. And if you want to weigh in on that one or something else, what is the offer for follow-up? Because I have people that are really good at getting now business, and I think their biggest miss is their long-term follow-up. So this is that kind of offer that goes beyond the, hey, I just got him, I was good on the phone today, or my postcard, got them to take action, whatever the case may be. I'm looking for you all to pick up the success and bring steadiness and predictability to business in this 12-month, but not right now, area. So there you go. Run with that. Tell me what you heard here today about an offer or anything else you want to weigh in on. Go ahead. Anybody jump in.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Gail.
Hi. I'm sorry. I got in and out. I had to do something.
Okay.
So I didn't get to hear all of it. But when I get towards the end and the offer, whatever the offer is, let's say I get their email, I'm going to send them properties in the areas they're interested in buying. I always say, I don't always say, but I would like to always say, when would be a good time for me to get back with you? He's talking about the fall time. And of course, I'm going to follow up, maybe once a month or whatever Infusionsoft tells me to do. But I always ask them. It's like when he asked the seller, was he thinking about selling? All of a sudden, he was talking about next year, which it didn't sound like that in the beginning. So there's always clues to be found out by asking them when would be a good time to follow up with them.
Yeah, Gail, what do you think?
That's what I would.
Yeah, Gail, what do you think about circling back in the conversation to reaffirm timing? So he got a little bit of a general timing. He made a pretty decent offer, and the guy accepted. What do you think about coming back for a second beat about timing? What would you do differently if you came for a second beat?
Well, because he said he wanted to buy in the fall, so the fall, what does that mean? First of all, for a lot of people, it's September, October, I don't know. And then he did talk about looking at properties in the summertime. But I think it's a continuum conversation because if they're buying, I call the buyers if they're going to be buying within the year at least a couple of times a month or sending them things.
Yeah.
So I would just say, when would be a good time to call you back? Again, I'd say that.
Yep.
I don't want to assume it because I swear, Danny, every time they always say a lot sooner than I think.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, it'll be about, and it always surprises me. So I want to always say that.
Yeah.
Because it's really important to know. Because maybe they say the fall, and the wife wants it in the fall, or they think that might be the good time. But if they start looking, they may buy in the spring. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
if they find a house.
Yeah. I think a lot of those arrows
Hey, Danny?
Yeah, hang on one second, Heather, and I'll come right to you.
Hey, Danny. Oh.
Yep, I got you too. Whoever that was in Washington, somebody's trying to talk to. So I'll get all of you because I love it. Thank you for the participation. I appreciate it. Here's my thought on this beat right here is that I like a lot of scripted lines that are highly effective, but I always worry, as you all know, if you're trying to put them together like a memorization, you're trying to be a professional actor or actress, which none of us are. So what I would say is this, is that, and nor do we want to be in this context, by the way, but what I would say is, Gail, I think in that moment in time, are we listening? You know what I mean? Because let me give you a little insight as to what I was listening to here. I know I always laugh because it's ironic in a teaching mode, you're always talking a lot, right? But I am really a keen listener. And maybe it's my intuition that's a better listener than my ears. But I intuited that what was important was in the background, this guy, his wife wanted to move. She's always loved that other area, he said. And so where's the quick segue into, oh, really? Have you ever gone and looked at any properties in that area? Gone to any open houses? You know, there's a massive opportunity there on the buy side because in my experience, most people get more motivated to sell their house when they see somewhere that they would be comfortable going. And since he has the guy that's less comfortable moving, he already said that too. I like it here, but she likes it there better. That was also in this conversation. So by being a keen listener to what they're saying, and I think the way that you do that is to relax off the script a little bit. You know, when you get white-knuckled and the blood stops pumping, you can't hear as much, and your intuition, you know, and your body language, everything, it just shuts down. You become more closed to feeling this conversation, where it's going, and where the opportunity is. It's not always A, B, C, D, E, F, G in a conversation, as we all are well aware. So it might be A, Z, you know, X, Y, we don't know. But he said something about the buy side. Oh, really? Have you gone and looked at any things? Now it becomes conversational again. Yeah, she loves this one. Oh, really? Have you gone and seen that one in particular? Well, we stopped by an open house. Look, I'd be happy to have Tony set you up. And I know it's early in the process. You're not thinking about moving. But what we find in our experience is if you go see some of your favorites in that neighborhood early on, it makes the process a little bit more comfortable and real. Would you like to do that? So that opportunity was right there for the taking. And so the irony is we want this thing, like Gail's saying, to be sooner, and we're even surprised it's sooner. But what did we listen to, and what problem did we solve that speeds it up? Because it is my experience also that if you are good at being helpful to them and getting them beyond a sticking point or giving them insight, you may very well shorten their time frame, not by just asking for it and almost becoming defensive. Well, you know, the summer is a better market than the fall. Why are we even going there? Look, let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you and your wife saw the right house in that neighborhood, would you move sooner than the fall? You know, that becomes a much more pragmatic conversation. Now you're listening to their needs, and you're adapting your conversation to their needs, their wants, their interests, whatever you'd like to call it here in this moment in time. But on that recorded call, it was clear the wife loves that neighborhood. Now, here's the jeopardy, too. Here's the danger. If we now just put this guy out to be on the portal to get properties for sale or that's sold around his, and we're not also controlling the flow of information that's coming to him about that other place, that other neighborhood where that woman would love to live, and offering to take her there and educate her and him and show them some of their favorites, even though it's early, no sweat off our back, it's what we do, that type of language, okay? We create this spot where even though we presume or assume worse, that we have this now track with this guy. I got him. I did a good job, Tony. I prospected him. We got him in the portal, and now we're following up. Guy told me follow up in 3 months. Well, what happens if she goes down the street and just your conversation alone was helpful? Now, all of a sudden, the guy's like, geez, you know, I talked to this guy and can't remember his name, but he sent me some stuff. And, you know, honey, I think you're probably right. I think I'm probably ready to make a move. Awesome, she says. Let's go looking at open houses. They walk in, they don't have a relationship with you yet, and now they're in an open house, and the listing agent says, yep, I could take this. Let me take a look at yours. And you get railroaded, and you make this presumption that there was loyalty there in a tacit way. You is a generic term here. I'm saying we presume that because we had one good conversation, 3 good hours in the field, whatever it might be, and we weren't really listening to how to really get in there tightly in a positive way, not in a pestering, over pursuit way, but to get in there in a positive way and realize it might indeed be the buy side. That's far more important at this moment in time. Tony, that makes sense? Tony? I think he's got me on mute. Tony, I just want to check with you because this is your call.
Yeah.
Okay? Go back.
Yeah, no.
Go back and listen to it with him. Yeah, there's a big miss there as to really control this. I think the call's good, but if you really want to be in control and you really want to shorten the time frame and you really want to get what you all want, you got to help them with what they're saying. And you can't help them if you don't hear it. If you're talking, you're not hearing that stuff, okay? So that's what I heard. Heather, and then somebody from Washington, I just don't have a name on it. I don't know if it was Paul or one of his team. You go first, Heather. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, taking the buy side route first and trying to lean into that. Also, then if you do get a chance to meet in person and go take a look at some places, and on the phone conversation in the future, it's helpful to then kind of bridge the whole gap of offering to come over to take a look at their place, without pressure on timing, to give them tips on what they can do to get their house ready with less pressure, since they've got time. So,
for sure. Absolutely.
Just another angle for offering, and even on the follow-up call, when you do call back in that next month or whatever, you can always just add in asking if it would be, let me come take a look at your house and see what we're working with, and especially because you are not looking to move, right away. You have time to do things, cost effectively.
Yeah, and you know what I think happens too, Heather? I think that if we're listening and we're cheating towards what's most important to them in that moment, I think what you just said is right. And in my experience, it comes much more naturally. We go out and see a few homes. They finally get to see me face to face. I see them face to face. We have a couple laughs. There's a little bit more in common. And say, hey, your house is right down the street, huh? I'm going to drive by. Well, why don't you just come over, Danny, and see it? Yeah, I got time. I just did that with a guy I went out to see an expired, Heather, just now, and he's building a house around the corner, and, he's very proud. He says, hey, you want to come see it? Of course. Let's go see it. Right? And so it just becomes a more natural progression when they don't know us and they're on the phone. And again, I'll repeat, this call was a good one because we had a very willing participant, so it gives us more meat to chew on and think about what we have. But I agree with you. I think that lean in on the thing that is the prime mover for them. Most people will not sell until they see what they're going to buy. It's a rare occasion that it happens the other way, in my experience at least. I don't know about all of you. So I would have been leaning in heavily. Hey, let's go check this out. Or you know what? I'm going to send you right now a list of everything that's sold in that neighborhood your wife likes. You get a look at that. You see all the features and the benefits of the properties that sold and the prices they're at so that you get educated on that piece of it. Because I find that if you can clarify your vision, you might want to move sooner than later if the right property comes up. And now I'm grabbing the bull by the horns with insight and guidance. I'm saying, look, if I were you, because in my experience, I find that my clients who do this, they empower themselves with a much better feeling for the process, and then they don't feel so anxious. Yeah, that sounds great, because it's logical. See, when you hear somebody says, oh, that would be great, thank you, that's when you have just hit the sweet spot for offering the right insight to the person who's ready for that insight, okay? Let me repeat that. When you ever hear somebody say to you, and you don't really know them yet, or you've been out with them just a few times, oh, that's great, thank you so much, I was so stressed about that, or didn't know how to do that, you have just hit a sweet spot. That's when you are really doing a good job. Look for those calls, signs like that. That's when you have listened and you have offered and it has benefited them. That's the insightful piece of this. And this is what I'm saying is never replaceable. Nobody can ever replace your ability to add insight to somebody's life in the context of buying or selling. Nobody. So listen, add insight, watch for reaction. It's like a tennis match. Hey, what about this? Oh no, not that. What about this? Yes, that. And that's how it goes. And it just becomes, they become appreciative of that. It's not so much, I don't want to really box it in by calling it the law of reciprocity. It's the law of proper communication that's building trust. The more that I can give you that I think is important to you, that's insightful, and might teach you what you didn't know and empower you whether you're going to use me or not, I think that's the right direction. So Heather, I think you're spot on. It becomes more natural. Who was in Seattle that wanted to weigh in on this? Somebody was, I had an open mic there.
Hey, Danny, it's Paul.
Hi, Paul.
How's it going?
Good, buddy. So congratulations. We have to first of all, hold on. We have to first of all say that Paul Cantu has worked his butt off to clean up his sales tasks, meaning his calls, in his database, aka in his case, Infusionsoft. So first of all, take a bow. Tell them how many tasks you were behind and how many you caught up on and where you're at today.
We were just under 3,000. And that was about 6 weeks ago, and we got it down to zero as of yesterday.
Awesome. So again, the tasks he's talking about, phone calls, writing letters, all these things that provoke conversations that can lead to his ability to give an offer. And now he's caught up. And again, this is probably years worth of getting too much stuff and not being task oriented to zero him out. So now Paul is fully aware of his capacity. All right, buddy, you wanted to weigh in on something, but I wanted to just give them that little tactical sales background piece of it. But what were you going to say earlier?
Oh, I was just going to say that, I'm sorry, I jumped on the call late.
No sweat.
But one of the things that, if you got a buy and a sell, possibility, and you're talking about, asking when you can circle back. One of the things they do, even if they say, let's just use Gail's example, that you're in the winter and they say, well, we're not going to probably do anything till the fall, and there's a buy side available. I usually say, well, let me go ahead and get you set up, let me take down your criteria, let me get you set up on this home search, and let me circle back with you. I just assume the close. I said, I will circle back with you in a week or so to make sure you're getting the types of properties you want to be receiving. So I don't even give them the opportunity to say no to that 1 week follow-up. And then I reconfirm. So you're pretty sure you're not going to do much till the fall? No, we're going to wait till the kid gets out of school, blah, 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 whatever the reason is. And say, okay, do you mind if I just touch base with you, every couple of months or so and just check in with you? So then you put them on, I'll put them on like a bi-monthly. That would be, if they're 6 to 8 months out, I'm going to do a bi-monthly. If they're more than a year out, I'm going to do the 3-year B, which is, every 3 months.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to inundate them. And I do also say what Gail said, something to the effect of, look, if your timeline changes or if you, just call me. If it moves up, call me. If you see anything that just really piques your curiosity and you want to go, you'd like to tour it in person, I don't care if you're not buying till the fall. I'm happy to block out 45 minutes or an hour and a half, and we can go check out a couple properties. I think we'll get a better idea of what's ultimately going to work for you if we can just, see a few places in person. So don't hesitate to call me, even if you are really going to wait till fall.
See, Paul, I think that's what a lot of... Paul, hang on to that. That's a really important point right there because I brought it up earlier and I want to put a double line underneath it and highlight it. The fact that we both said that on the same call, I want everybody to hear us say that. I said it my way and he said it his way. I said, look, I love what I do. It's important for me to get out there with you. You're never putting me out. This is what we do. You're not wasting my time. It's impossible to do. So do me a favor. Feel comfortable going out and seeing some of your stuff. In fact, I find that my clients that go out and see stuff early on have a much easier time sifting and sorting online, and it's not as aggravating. That's the way I said it. You heard how he said it. But Paul, before I give them my insight as to why I think that's important, why do you say that kind of stuff to somebody? Why would you say that? I lose you, Paul?
No, I'm here. I'm sorry, I had you move.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because, like Gil said, sometimes people's timelines do change. And if you have them on a bi-monthly or 3-month follow-up and they see something and they haven't heard from you, but then you might miss that opportunity. So I think just reminding them that, hey, I'm available. Just because you told me you're not going to buy till the fall, don't think you can't call me if you see something that even piques your curiosity. You're not wasting my time.
That's right.
I'd love to go out and see a few properties with you because I think it's going to give me a way better idea once I go through a few places with you of what's ultimately going to work for you.
They're
I
in,
think, giving them that assurance that they're not bothering you, that they're not a pet.
yeah, but therein lies,
not
but
the
there,
body,
but therein lies what good salespeople in this business really do. I understand why we're saying it to them, to the extent that they'll react to that better. But from a salesperson standpoint, what we're doing is stitching this, we're trying to stitch the safety net beneath us. See, all this nonsense that, oh, the buyer cheated on me. Well, no, that's not true. They didn't cheat on you. They're out there for their benefit to go get something. They're happy to use you if you constantly demonstrate a caring attitude that's adding insight to the point where at some point in time it flips and they're almost worried to do it, without you. In other words, they're afraid, right? So that's what I'm trying to say is that, we're paying attention to that whole thing. Is that, we've got to sow that net, right? You got to sow that net beneath it so that you don't get quote unquote cheated on, because it's not their fault. It's ours for not saying that. You can't just have a good call, wait 2 months, and then make it, because like we just said, everything's in flux. And buyers aren't liars. They don't know how to express this. This is a huge financial transaction. They may or may not know. That's what it is. So there you go. Paul, what else did you want to add? Anything else?
I have
Hang on.
question.
Yeah, hang on, Vanessa. Vanessa, hang on, you're next. Go ahead.
I just think that, like you said, but it's so overwhelming for them, and they don't, it's not that they're going to screw you over, they just might just be completely overwhelmed and forget, lose your number or forget your name or whatever if you haven't called them and assured them of this and that. So, I think that we've done a great job as a group of having those conversational emails go out, and for those of us that are doing the market reports, email monthly, constantly keeping our faces, our contact info, and quality content in front of them will assure that they won't forget about us if their timeline does change.
No doubt. Come on, Vanessa, go ahead. You're up. Hit it.
So I've had people that I lose through that, like you said, safety net.
Yep.
And I determined that it's best if they even say like, oh, I'm about a year out, I think they should get a call, at least one call every month. And based on my notes, I've seen that like when I call somebody that says they're a year out and I just say, hey, I know we talked last month, are your plans still to, buy in December, or, have they changed? When you're engaging in the conversation, you can determine if they are, like you said, locked in a lease or school, whatever the case. And then you determine, knowing that those are factors that, you're not going to be moving because you don't want to move the kid's school in the middle of whenever you find a property.
Right.
And I think that's when my tone changes to being concierge when I call.
Yep.
Like, hey, I'm calling again, I'm calling to say hi. I take advantage to see if there's referrals, if they have anybody that is thinking about buying or selling, and then just to assure that their plans are still to move within, the timeline goes down, 8 months, 7 months, 6 months, and has anything changed? Do they need to talk to a lender? As far as asking if I can follow up with them, I usually just say, can I call you in a month to see how you're doing? If anything.
Okay, all right, hold on. Vanessa, Vanessa, hold on. I want to grab this for a second because I think this is a real important moment and I'd like you to test it, okay? See, I think we're putting you in a difficult spot, you and anybody else who does that job, okay? Meaning to say, hey, we're having a nice conversation. Hey, your timing's down the road. We need to make sure we're making that offer there, though. Hey, between now and the next time we talk, what I'm going to give you is this, because it's going to help you this way. That's going to empower you. So what I'll be doing is I'll be calling you down the road to take a look at the new stuff with you, the new information that impacts your value, the new properties that came on for sale and that sold so you can see what the money buys. It's very easy to articulate that to a buyer or seller. I'm going to call you so we can see what the money's buying while you're getting pre-qualified and cleaned up. I'm going to call you and go over what's sold so we see how it impacts your asking price and your value. Just keep it simple like that. I think it's okay to ask the permission to follow up, but make sure they understand what's coming to them and the reason for following up. Because what I've heard here today multiple times is that, would it be okay if I followed up? Don't leave them to wonder, well, why? I told you I'm not, I'm out to the, you know what I mean? Just don't leave that gap
I've
for
gotten
yourself.
that too.
Yep, I bet.
I've gotten that too.
I bet.
As a response, like, okay, why would you want to follow up? And that's when it's, just to update you on the market. We can go over your game plan, see if you're ready to talk to a lender. But yeah, I have gotten that response, and then they tell me, like, right now, the responses I've been getting for later buyers is, call me in January.
Yep.
Call me in January when, the holidays passed and I'm going to be able to concentrate on buying.
Good. And here's what I would say. Hang on. That's a good moment. So there's nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that we're working on with the marketing and the mailers that go in conjunction with this is to support you. What I want to make sure is that you understand the connection to content that supports that gap in time. So you see how, like we were saying, hey, I'm going to tell you on the phone, don't be afraid to call me. But in the meantime, I will be sending you, and this is where we leverage technology, I'm going to be sending you stuff that sells. So even though you're not ready till February, I'll wait, I'll call you then. But this, you can just delete these if you want to, but it's important to keep them coming in so you see what sells in this price range. So when I call you back in February, we're talking about property specifics. Just make sure you've got something like that, because see, an email can be a good support as it delivers this property information, right? It can be a good support, and it's what they want early on. They want access to property information, and sold, S-O-L-D, is the most insightful. So just make sure that you're sending something like that, and I know you probably are, but I want you to be aware of its value to you for that next call, right? So I'm sending you this, here's the benefit, and I'll be calling you to go over that in January so we see how it affects what the money can buy or how it impacts your price. Does that make sense, Vanessa?
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise, exactly what happened. Well, why are you calling me? Don't wait for them to be wondering that or even say it. Be active in what you're going to do for them between now and the next call. All of you. That's the offer that I wanted to talk about today. So that's a good point you bring up. Anything else?
I think,
Yep.
I think being cheated on or somebody going to a different lender or a different realtor is because you're not on top of mind.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
The call is just one of the many things that they should be, or they would be getting. It could be, a market update that they're receiving. You get to see if they opened it when you make that call. Do you have questions about, that market update I sent to you last week or last month, whatever. But there's people that I have no idea who they are, and I'm calling because I put them on a monthly follow-up or a quarterly one, and they know who I am because of all those touches they're getting throughout the year or throughout the month.
Perfect.
And it's because that top of mind is locked in, that safety net is there.
Perfect.
So they know who I am, and keep sending me the listings, or I'm in a call right now, but I'll respond to your email. I got it last night, and I was like, oh shit, you got an email from me? In my head, I'm okay.
Yeah, right. Well, look at Bravo.
So,
and what I would just say is one thing I want you to practice between now and the next call is being a little bit more specific. And if you ever had a recorded call from me, that would be awesome. But if not, at least come back to me. If you can do it in a week, come back to me, because that's a really good segue and a way to leave this call today. If you just can come back to me with, hey, I was a little bit more intentional about explaining to them the benefits of what I'm sending them and the reason. So the benefits of what I'm sending them and the reason I'm calling back is to add some of my insights. Because ultimately, Vanessa, I'll leave you with this thought and everybody today. Insight is why they won't cheat on you. Let that sink in, everybody. If your insight on top of the information is good enough, they'll begin to lean on you as the go-to expert, and they'll actually be a little bit worried about not using you. That's how you eliminate that. So remember, Explaining the benefits, but adding the insights is what builds a much tighter relationship, okay? All right, listen, I've got a roll here today. Awesome job today. Super participation. Bravo. You are a killer group when you participate, and that's what you did today. Proud of you. See you on the next call, and have an awesome weekend. Get out there and try this stuff. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Danny.
You bet. See you, Georgie. Thanks, everybody online, for tucking in there.